Hi everyone, welcome to the visual guide for the Arm of the Sun normal. This guide will break down the perfect storm of abilities, and with some quick thinking, you'll get it down in no time. My name is Mistech, and I'll be your raid guide. The first thing you'll notice is the division of the room by spikes. These spikes will apply a bleed debuff and a vulnerability debuff, meaning the longer you stay in there, the more damage you'll take. That said, you shouldn't stand in the spiky bits. The first thing to note is Sizzle Beam, which will mark up a player with this purple marker and blast a large column AoE in their direction. The affected player should move away from the group. Getting hit by this attack will place a spicy debuff on the player, so minimize this as much as possible. Next, you'll notice these super obvious AoE circles. We've added these as necessary. These will increase in difficulty as the fight progresses, dropping more than one puddle after another, so be sure not to trap yourself. Sizzle Spark is a raid-wide AoE that will need to be shielded and healed through as necessary. Tanks need to be on the lookout for Uplander Doom, which will cause the boss to begin quickly stacking a debuff on the main tank. Tanks should swap at around 3 or 4 stacks before the damage becomes unmanageable. Anytime the boss casts Zoom Doom, he will mark up a random player with this marker, land on them, pick them up, and fly them to one of the 4 outer zones, where they will have to deal with this specific mechanic. Players will be released from these zones when that specific mechanic has been fulfilled or they have died. All other players should stay away from this marked player to avoid getting picked up, as mechanics will duplicate based on the number of players taken into the outer zone. The northwest zone will deal damage to the affected player based on any actions. A padlock will spawn that should be destroyed by those outside, releasing the player. Any random player can be targeted for this zone. The northeast zone spawns an ad that must be destroyed before the player is released. Only damage dealers will be targeted for this zone, and upon entering they will be marked for death. If they fail to destroy their ad in time, they will die, and the ad will be released upon the raid. The southwest zone will target the off tank and will spawn a large ad inside an icy perimeter. Touching the outer rim of this zone will freeze you in place and probably kill you. The ad itself also has a knockback ability, so it's best to destroy it with your back facing the widest open area of the platform, so you don't get pushed into a wall and frozen. The player will be released once this ad is destroyed. The southeast zone will target a healer. You'll notice that as soon as this zone is active, a poison cloud will engulf the entire room, dealing damage to the raid over time. The targeted healer should locate and stand on the hole spewing the poison gas until they are released from their zone. Anytime the boss is off dumping a player into an outer zone, ads will spawn. These small panzer ads can be easily burned down. The big Strum Doll casts Kugelblitz, a spicy AoE blast and paralyze that must be interrupted every time. This has a fairly long cast time, so there really is no excuse to let it cast. These mechanics will repeat until 75%, at which point the spikes around the room will disappear, allowing you full range of the platform. You'll notice Quick Thinks' cat running around the room and periodically casting True Heart. This spawns a heart that will slowly make its way towards the boss, and if not destroyed in time, it will begin to sprint towards the boss. Should this heart reach the boss, he will gain a buff that causes him to become erratic, dealing much higher damage and more AoE blasts than usual. This can get very difficult to handle unless the heart is destroyed in time. The best way to handle this relies on both the main tank to always be aware of the cat and moving the boss away as necessary, and the rest of the group to be ready to stun, heavy, and damage the heart as soon as it pops up. These Weight of the World balls will also begin rolling around the arena at this time. These should be avoided, as getting crushed by these will do highly unnecessary damage. The raid is also still dealing with Sizzle Beam, and marked players should continue to move away from the group as necessary. Eventually, the room will return back to normal and the fight will continue. The only added mechanic comes when 5 players are tethered to 5 bombs. These bombs will eventually explode and should be spread apart to reduce damage. 4 players can run to the outer platforms, while the 5th moves away from the raid in the center platform. It's important not to get caught on the spikes when the bombs explode, as your extra debuffs will probably kill you. At 25%, we'll have another cat and ball phase. Remember to keep the boss away from the heart and try not to cleave the entire raid with Sizzle Beam. Avoid the extra ball as necessary. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Up next, we'll dive into the final floor of Alexander Midas Normal. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.